Welcome, everybody. Welcome back to Homestead Heart. We are getting ready to bake some bread, homemade bread. That is absolutely correct, you all. Now, before we get into this video, I've already done a preparatory video where I go in detail about some things in my process of baking bread. So, in this video, I won't be doing that. If you would like to see that video and you never ever baked homemade bread before, I'm going to leave that in the card somewhere above so that you can go back and watch that video in its entirety and then come back to this one and make some bread with me. Okay? Now, you all, full disclosure, I've been trying to make this video for over a week and I have not been able to do so. Is that right, Miss Sage?
That's right.
It's been taking me quite some time because so many things have been going on and I have not been able to get in this kitchen and do the video. I've done it, started it over. I put my bread in the wrong oven. It burnt the top of it all. It was just crazy. It was so much. So now I'm in here getting ready to show you all my process for bread baking. Okay. All right. So now we're going to go over our ingredients.
Let's do it. You're going to get it this time, Mrs. H.
I'm going to do it this time.
You're going to get it.
Okay, and there'll be no more interruptions?
No more interruptions.
You sure?
I'm positive. Okay. I'm out of here.
All right, let's go ahead and go over the ingredients that you're going to need for bread or the ingredients that I'm using in my bread, okay? So now let's first go over the wheat. For my recipes, sometimes I love to do blends, okay? And my favorite blend is where I use these two different grains. This is a hard red wheat. And this is Khorasan or kamut. So I'll be using an equal amount of each one of these in my bread. If you don't have hard red wheat and you have hard white, you can use hard white. If you don't have kamut and all you have is hard red or hard white wheat, feel free to use that. Okay? Just no soft whites. All right? Next, we have some vital wheat gluten. We have some honey. We have some olive oil. I have 2 eggs here. You're going to need some water, non-chlorinated water between 100 110 degrees Fahrenheit, okay? You're going to need some instant yeast. Later on in the video, I'm going to tell you about the differences because I didn't go over that in my preparatory video and why it's so important that if you use this recipe, you want to use instant yeast, okay? And you're going to need some pink salt or kosher salt. No salt with iodine, okay? All right, so these are the ingredients. Now, if you're doing freshly milled flour, I have my grain mill here. I'm getting ready to mill my flour. If you do not have a grain mill, that's perfectly fine. You can still buy your store-bought bread flour. Just weigh it out, okay? I also have my scale here, my digital thermometer here, my stand mixer as well. You're going to need 2 loaf pans for this. I prefer cast iron, but use whatever you have. And you're going to need a large mixing bowl of sorts to allow your dough to rise in. All right. And maybe some plastic wrap or a tea towel to cover the dough once it starts to rise. Okay. All right. Now that's all there is to the ingredients and some of the tools I'm going to be using. I am going to use my stand mixer, but if you don't have a stand mixer, you can always knead the dough by hand. No biggie. Okay. All right. Let's go ahead and get into it. All right, the first thing I'm going to do is turn my scale on, put my glass jar on the scale, and I'm going to zero this out. My scale is set to grams, okay, because that's how I'm weighing my flour or my grain, okay? All right, so I'm going to go ahead and measure 440 grams of my kamut. Turn on my mill. Now we're going to go ahead and measure 440 grams of the hard red wheat. And we're going to mill this up. Now that our flour is completely milled, we have our 440 grams of kamut, 440 grams of hard red. That's a total of 880 grams of flour. If you're using bread flour, 880 grams. Okay, so let me just go ahead and transfer my flour to my mixing bowl. Everything is going to pretty much be done in this bowl right here. Okay. And it's okay if your weight is not spot on. So if instead of having 880 grams, you have 885 grams, that's going to be perfectly fine. Okay. And another thing I'm going to recommend you do is in a separate container, or putting it in a separate container, you want to mill an additional 50 grams of flour. So, because you're going to use that to knead your dough. I already have some up here behind me that I'm going to use. So I'm just going to combine this flour, just kind of give it a slight mix around here. I'm just combining it. That's all. Doing it all in my mixing bowl. Okay. Now I'm going to make a well. Come close. I'm making a well in the bottom of my bowl here. Okay. Now we're going to go ahead and add our other ingredients, but I'm going to turn my scale back on. Put my glasses on, make sure this is still set to grams. It's not. And make sure it is zeroed out. Now that I have a well in the bottom of my bowl, I'm going to go ahead and start adding my next few ingredients. I'm starting with vital wheat gluten, and I'm adding 35 grams of vital wheat gluten to the bottom of my bowl here. And if you remember, I said about the preparatory video. In that preparatory video, I go over with you why I use vital wheat gluten. So we're going to start with 35 grams. That's 12. That's 26. That's 39 grams. That's okay. It's not going to be absolutely perfect. It's perfectly fine if it's a little over. Okay. That's 39 grams. Now to the bottom of this, I'm going to add my 2 eggs. And I do not crack my eggs inside of that bowl there. Okay. I always crack them in here first, just in case a shell fall and I don't see it. It's easier for me to see it in this bowl. Okay. Just drop it in. 2 medium to large eggs is fine. All right, my water has been getting nice and hot. I'm going to add 535 grams of this water to my bowl. I'm going to tear out my scale, get it back at 0. I can turn that water off. And again, I want my water to be at a temperature between 100 110 degrees. And this is at 115. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and pour that in because I'm about to add some olive oil and honey. And once I add the olive oil and honey, that is going to cool down this water as well, just a little bit. So I need 535 grams. All right, I got 537 grams of water. Now, I'm going to zero this out. We're getting ready to add some honey. I need roughly 95 to 100 grams of honey. Okay. Okay, that's 99 right there. Okay, my scale has been zeroed out. Now I'm getting ready to add my olive oil. And I'm going to add 62 grams of olive oil. Whoops, that's 70. It's a bit much, but that's okay. Goals here, goals. 62 is the goal. We have all of our ingredients here. Now let's take it over to our mixer. Okay, now I'm going to take my mixing bowl and put it underneath my stand mixer. Okay? And I'm going to start this off with my paddle blade, okay? Just because it does a good job of combining all of the ingredients, I'm going to start it off with the paddle blade. Now, I'm going to stir this, and I literally mean stir. That's the first setting on my KitchenAid. And if you have a KitchenAid, it's probably the first setting on yours too, because we don't want stuff to go splashing everywhere. So I'm going to start this on stir. See what I mean? I'm going to start it on stir just to kind of start to work and combine everything together. All right. Now I'm going to raise this from the stir setting to the number 2 setting. We want this to form just a quick little ball of dough, that's all. So just going to take a couple of minutes, that's it. Now I'm going to take this off the stand mixer. I'm going to take the extra dough off. And I'm going to gather this together in my bowl. It's very warm because the water was really warm, okay? So it's very warm, and this is what we need. And I'm just going to pull this together. Okay? It ain't got to be perfect or pretty. Okay? And I'm going to sit this back under my mixer. I'm going to grab a tea towel and I'm going to cover this. And we're going to let this sit for 20 minutes, okay? We have our dough sitting here on a 20-minute timer, and it's hydrating, all right? If you notice, we haven't added any yeast to this as of yet. So this is hydrating. Now, when you freshly mill your flour, it still contains all of those wonderful components that you typically won't find in a commercially milled flour, like the bran and the germ, right? So the reason why we let it soak is because as the dough begins to rise, if it's not properly hydrated, it can act as shards. The bran can act as shards in the dough, just breaking down the gluten as it starts to form. And sometimes your dough won't get the rise out of it that you're really looking for. So you let the dough rest 20 minutes. It allows for the bran to soak up all of that moisture. And once it soaks up all of that moisture, it'll be nice, soft, and fluffy even, okay? And you don't have to worry about it damaging the gluten as it starts to form, okay? All right, so we'll be back in 20 minutes when this is ready. Okay, it's been 20 minutes. Let's look at our dough. See how hydrated that looks? Look at that. Just look at that. See there? Now it's tacky, but it's not sticking to my hand. But I'm showing you how much moisture. Let's look at that. Is in that dough. So now I'm going to go ahead and put this back under here and put it in place. I'm going to go ahead and add my dough hook to this. Okay. Now I'm going to turn my scale on because now we're getting ready to add our yeast and our salt. And we're going to add 16 grams of salt and we're going to add 16 grams of instant yeast. So let's go ahead and start with my salt. It's going to be 16 grams. If you want to add a little less, you can. You want to do like 10 grams of salt. Almost. You can. Okay, that's it. So I have 16 grams of salt. Just going to sprinkle that in. I'm going to add 16 grams of the SAF instant yeast. This bag of yeast, Best Buy, June 2022. But I'm going to tell you, if you keep your yeast in the freezer, in the coldest part, way down in the bottom deep, put it in the coldest part, and this yeast will last. This is 2025. And this is my last little bag of instant yeast from 2022. So it will last down in your deep freeze, okay? We're going to do 16 grams of instant yeast. Look at how fine that is. All right, now I'm just going to sprinkle it all around over the top. I don't have to do nothing fancy to that. Now on my KitchenAid stand mixer, I never knead my dough over the number 2 setting, ever, okay? Number 1, you don't want to overwork the motor in your KitchenAid. Number 2, you don't want to hurt the dough. You don't want to overwork the dough as well, right? So we're going to put this on 2. I'm going to knead this dough like this for 8 to 10 minutes. It could depend on how hot it is, the humidity, all of that will determine whether it's 8 or 10 minutes, okay? And then after that, if I need to, I'll just pull it out and knead it the rest of the way by hand. But otherwise, we're going to start with about 8 to 10 minutes, and then we'll see where we are after that time, okay? So I'm going to turn it on number 2. Let me take the dough off the dough hook and sit it to the side. This has been kneading for 10 minutes, and it's not quite ready. So what I'm doing here, Bud. So what I'm doing here is I have my little spatula with a little flour on it. This is that extra flour I told you that I mill in order to be able to knead my dough by hand if I need to. So all I'm going to do is just take the dough down off the sides here. And really you should do this, halfway through when you're kneading the dough. Scrape down the sides, kind of like when you're baking a cake. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, because this needs to knead a few more minutes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this back in. But because it's been kneading for 10 minutes, I'm going to let this dough rest. All right, it's actually been about 3 minutes. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to knead this again. We're going to give it about 4 minutes. It's already looking good. Let me show you. Brush down the sides and let it rest. And we're going to give it another 4 minutes. And this setting is on number 2, okay? Look at that. It's going to come together beautifully. So the time is up. And now I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to take this out because I think I'm going to need it for just about a minute or so. And so I'm just going to take a little bit of flour and just sprinkle it around on my little mat here. And also my little bowl here. I'm going to go ahead and oil this now. You don't need a bowl this big. Okay, you don't need a bowl this big. But Mr. H is using my other bowl, so I have to use the biggest one that I have. Get this out. So this is what my dough looks like, but I'm going to pull it out. And like I said, it probably just needs a good minute or two to finish it off, but it's not a lot. It's not bad, okay? Just move that around. Just knead this real quick. It's not going to take very much. It's going to come together rather quickly. I have to use both hands when I'm kneading because my wrist on one hand, I can't use too much without it hurting. Look there. See how it bounces back? Look there. You see that spring back? Look there. Now you can do what is called a window pane test as well, but I don't need to do that. I'm so used to looking at my dough. I can tell when my dough is ready. Let me bring you. See here, I can kind of look at my dough and tell when my dough is ready. So that's a whole wheat berry in there. So I don't have to do the window pane test, but I can look at it and tell when it is done. Look at that. See how you press and it starts to, is that another wheat berry? It is. Lord, some got through, or either they popped out. But in any case, you could see how the dough just springs back. It's not sticky at all. Look at there. See, I know it's ready. All right. So now this is where my bowl comes in at with the oil in it. Okay. Just going to smooth that around. Going to put my dough in here. I put it on the smooth side first and just give it a spin around, and then I flip it over on the other side. I'm even going to put some oil in my hands and rub the top of the dough and the sides. I just don't want it to stick. That's all. Okay. So I'm just going to put this dough in this bowl. Note the size. Okay. And we're going to let this dough rest in this bowl like this for a good 40 minutes or so. 40 minutes to an hour. It's going to depend. You definitely want to make sure that the dough doubles in size. Now, what I do while my dough is in the stand mixer kneading, I preheat my oven to 175 degrees. That's only because that's the lowest temperature that I have on my stove. And once it gets to 175 degrees, I shut the oven off. And so this dough is kneading from 8 to 10 minutes. So from 8 to 10 minutes, my oven has time to settle down a bit to be just the perfect temperature for me to put my pan and my towel in the oven. Now I'm creating a warm box because I don't have one. So I use my oven. I could turn the light on in the stove, and that does help a little bit, but not like I like. Okay. So I've already done that. So now all I have to do, and I literally can put my hand in there. It's not hot at all. Okay. So I just put my bread down in my oven, and I'm going to let my dough rise. It's going to be 40 minutes to an hour or so, but because my oven is already warm, it's probably going to be closer to 40 minutes. And the good thing is that if your oven doesn't have, like my stove has the little digital thing at the top to let me know what the temperature is, but that's okay. If yours doesn't have that, you can just kind of gauge it. You can preheat it, put your hand inside and see if it's warm, just nice and comfortable warm, not hot. And if it feels like that, turn the oven off. And if you think it's a little too warm, that's okay. Open the oven door for 5 minutes or so. It's going to cool down. All right. So, but that's just what I do. You don't have to do that. You can put yours on the stove if you like. Okay. But I'm going to get this in. Set me a timer for 40 minutes. And then I'll check on it at 40 minutes. Now, this is where I start my next batch of bread. So if I do 4 loaves of bread at a time, this is the point where I'm starting my next batch, because this batch, once it comes out, it'll be ready for me to divide and get it into my loaf pans. So I'll see y'all back when it's time to take this out. Okay. All right, y'all. So we have a couple of minutes remaining before it's time for my dough to come out of the oven. So what I'm going to do now is just go ahead and spray my loaf pans here. And I told you all that I like to use cast iron in that preparatory video. I told you I like to use cast iron, and I even explained to you why I like to use cast iron. And actually what I can do is pop in a clip of a video where I actually baked some bread, and I was doing the comparison between the cast iron and the glass, and that way you can see it for yourself. So I'll plug that in, okay? Look at that, isn't that gorgeous? I'll bring it over here. It is pretty big. Okay. Ooh,
look at them. Nice.
Ooh. Yo, look at this bread. Now this one right here is like this because it came off the sides of the glass, but I don't know if you can see the difference in the bread, just how it bakes up differently in the cast iron over the glass, right? Okay, but I'm going to go ahead and spray. I'm going to go ahead and spray my pans, cast iron. And this is just olive oil in a little spray bottle here. And just going to rub that around. Make sure you get the corners of your loaf pans real good all around. We don't want anything to stick. And even if the dough decides to come out and be on top of the rim, well, that's why I always go over the rims as well with the oil, just to make sure that everything is nice and coated. Okay. All right, let's take our bread out. Oh, it's beautiful. Note the size difference. Okay, now we're going to degas this. Okay. All I'm going to do is just push down in here and just degas this, okay? It's a nice big bowl. I could use my whole hand. You want to get all the gas out, y'all. You don't want to leave the gas in on this first rise, okay? I'll go ahead and take it out of my bowl. And then going to press out all the gas. Gonna cut this in half. Try to get it as even as you can, okay? All right. Stretching that on out. And I'm just flattening it out. Some people use a rolling pin, but I don't find that necessary. So once I press all the gas out and I flatten it, I do something a little similar to if you're making sourdough bread, right? Like if you were about to do some stretch and folds. Well, I stretch it, but then I just fold this over to the middle, and then I stretch the other side and fold it over to the middle like so. Then I fold that over too. And then I take my bottom and I tuck in everything under the sides. And then I fold down this side and tuck that under as well. Just some simple tuck and folds, basically. Tuck that under again. Now you don't have to do that if you don't want to, but I like to stretch it to help build tension in the dough. Pinch my sides together underneath, make sure they're good and closed. And they are nice and closed, nice and tucked. Grab my first loaf pan here. Get off of there. And I tuck it in like a baby. Give it a little press. Side. And next, I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm just going to stretch this in. Just give it a stretch. Just building tension in the dough. I'm not actually doing tuck and folds, but I am stretching it just to build a little bit of tension in the dough, okay? Then I'm going to turn that over to the middle. Pull that over like so. I'm going to fold that over again. Pinch my undersides. There's so many different ways you can do this. Tuck in my ends. Tuck them in under the bottom. Now, like I said, you don't have to do this. You can just make a regular log. You don't have to do this, but I like doing it, helping to build a little tension. Plus, it gives me a reason to play with my food. Got my loaves of bread right here. Now, these two loaves right here are going to sit right here on the counter. I'm not putting them back in the oven. They're going to sit right here on the counter for a good 35, 45 minutes or until the dough doubles in size. And once it doubles in size, then I'll know that it's ready for me to go in the oven. I'm going to cover this loosely, okay? If I didn't say it when we were putting the bowl in the oven, whatever you cover your bowl with, saran wrap, a towel, don't put it on tight. You want it to be loose because you don't want anything to prevent your dough from rising, okay? So this is just laying across here really, really loose. And when I take it off, because this is my second rise on this, I'm going to be very careful because I don't want to degas it the next time, okay? I don't want to degas it. It was okay the first time if it started to degas, but this time, no. So I'm going to have to be really careful when I peel this off to make sure I don't degas it. I never really have any problems there. But if you're new to baking bread and you're concerned, you can get yourself some saran wrap, put a little oil on the top of your saran wrap or your bread and cover it loosely, and it definitely won't stick. But I just put a towel over it, okay? So I'm going to set me another timer for about 40 minutes or so, and then we'll be back, okay? Okay, I have about 11 minutes before my dough is just about done rising, between 10 and 15 minutes left. So what I'm going to go ahead and do now is preheat my oven to 350 degrees, and that's Fahrenheit. So that's going to be preheating so that by the time this is ready to go in the oven, my oven will be good and hot. But all right, you all, so it's been 50 minutes and the bread was ready 5 minutes ago to go in the oven, but I've started on a batch of Cinnabons and I had to finish getting that in my mixer before I could stop. So now let's have a look at these loaves. Oh, they look so good. Let's bring them close. This is loaf number one going in. Look at there. Sit that there. Mowgli, don't do that. This is loaf number 2 right here. Isn't that just gorgeous? So we're about to get these in our preheated 350-degree oven, okay? Now, once these go in the oven, do your best, first of all, not to bump these. Don't do anything that could cause this dough to degas. We don't want that, okay? These are going to bake for 35 to 40 minutes or until they are golden brown, okay? Once they are golden brown, then you can pull them out of the oven, all right? Now,
while we are waiting on this bread to bake up out of the oven, I am taking a moment to get some cinnamon buns going for Mr. H. And I'm also going to take a moment to talk about today's awesome sponsor, which is Azure Standard. As you know, Azure Standard sponsors some of our videos. And even in this video, you can see I use a good amount of products that I get from Azure Standard. I get good quality ingredients to bake up my homemade breads and all of my desserts. So if you've never shopped Azure Standard before, you're brand new to Azure Standard, go ahead and use our link in the description box below and save yourself 15% off of your first order of $100 or more. But even if you've never shopped, or even if you have shopped with Azure Standard before, still use our link in the description box below. That does help our channel, and it lets Azure Standard know that Homestead Heart sent you on over. Don't those cinnamon buns look good? Yes, they look good. All right, y'all. These cinnamon buns are now ready to rest, and we are going to get our bread out of the oven.
all right, the bread is done. Let's get it out of the oven. Oh my goodness, it smells so good in here. It is insane how good it smells in the house. This is loaf number 1. Look at that beautiful, beautiful, beautiful loaf of bread. Woo. Let me sit this down, close the oven. I set me a timer for 3 minutes. So what I do is, once I take them out of the oven, let me turn this off for now. Once I take these out of the oven, I will sit them on my stove in the pan that they are in for about 3 to 5 minutes. After that time, I come back and I turn them out and I put them on my counter on a wire rack, and there I let them sit overnight. They cool all the way down. I don't cut into my loaves of bread when they come out of the oven like this, because they literally are still cooking on the inside. And this bread is full of steam right now. And if you cut into this bread right now and you let all of that air, not air, but all of the steam out, it can literally make your bread go stale really fast. And it could destroy the crumb inside of the bread as well. So you want to let this cool all the way down. This is not a dinner roll, okay? A dinner roll, you can tear into it and you could go ahead and eat it hot with some honey butter, but not this bread. You want to let this bread cool all the way down. And like I said, I give it overnight. Now, if you want to see the recipe of the Cinnabons right here, be sure you hit the like button and drop a comment, okay? Hit the like button and say, make them Cinnabons, all right? I'm going to be looking for everybody comment that says, make them Cinnabons. So if I see that comment and the likes and whatnot, I will come back and do another recipe for the Cinnabons, okay? So I'm going to put my little oven mitts on so we can get them out of the oven. Out of the loaf pan. Y'all know what I mean. I love these little temptation gloves that one of our viewers sent us. I adore these gloves because they definitely do a good job of protecting my hands So let's go ahead and get these out. Oh, wait. We only had a few seconds left, so I'm going to go ahead and turn these out now. Just look at that beautiful, beautiful loaf of bread. Just look. All right, let's go ahead and get these turned out now. You have to take them out of this pan, okay? You do not want them to continue to cook. It'll steam the bottom, make it all soft and mushy and all of that. It can just mess up the whole thing, okay? So you want to take it out after 3 to 5 minutes and put it on a wire rack and let it cool down. And if you oiled your pans correctly, they should pop right on out. Okay? All right. Sit those babies right there. Oh, yeah. Look at these beautiful loaves of bread. Listen, you all. Trust me when I say you will never buy anything out of the supermarket that will compare to your own homemade loaves of bread. Not only does this taste better, it's healthier for you because every part of the wheat berry that is beneficial to you is still right here in this bread. Okay? So trust me, make it at home. It's not as hard as you probably thought. The recipes are easy to follow. I hope I made it easy to follow. And if you decide to make this loaf of bread, let me know, okay? Let me know that you've made this bread and tell me what you think about it, okay? Make your own bread. Look at that. Make your own bread. It's easy. Now, it's almost time for these cinnamon rolls to get ready to pop in the oven. So that's going to do it for the video. If you like the video, like it, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any videos we upload to our channel. Thank you for watching Homestead Heart. Peace and blessings to each and every one of you. And I will see y'all in the next video. And remember, fake it yourself. You got this. I'll see y'all in the next video.